about 30 seconds. Looks like it's a half decent day outside. It feels a little bit more like spring and a little bit less like winter for the first time in a little while.
Good and bad. We can't go out.
Yeah, outside, but don't get a ticket. Okay, so we are going to start our warm-up. We're going to fire up the lower body and the core to start. So you're going to get into your nice athletic position. You're going to push the floor apart, squeeze the fists, trying to create as much tension through this part of the body as we can, pressing out for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stand up. You're going to sink back into that semi squat or that athletic stance, but we're going to go a little wider this time. Now, important part here is you want to make sure that the knees stay pushed out towards the feet and that the knees don't come in more narrow than the feet. Okay, press out for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to go a little wider again. Keep pressing those knees away from each other and push for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And last one, a little bit wider. Bend the knees as well and press out for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stay where you are and think about pulling in. Very different sensation. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Step in and pull in. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Step in and pull in for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stand up, turn it off. You're going to stand on your left leg and we're going to get into a semi-squat position on your left side. And with our right side, we're going to tap out to the side and return. So here we go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Deeper on the left leg. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Deeper on the left leg. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And stand up. Shift your weight to the right. Descend into that semi-squat position. Out and back. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Descend a little bit deeper. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And last one, a little bit deeper. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. With our left leg, we're going to take a big step forward, descend into our lunge pattern, press up from the front heel to return where we are, and alternate onto the other side. Trying to take a nice big step. That looks a little bit silly. Big step. Big step. Another 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Spread the legs a little bit wider, descending down into your deep squat pattern. Hanging out here, think about pushing the knees and the hips away from one another to create some space in the hip sockets. Big inhale, big exhale. Inhale, exhale, make a fist with your hands, press out as hard as you can with the hips, create as much tension as you can for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come up a tiny bit and press out for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Up a little bit, pressing out again for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stand all the way up and let's perform 10 bodyweight squats. 1, 2, still pushing the floor apart the entire duration. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Descend back down, hang out down here, shimmy a little bit side to side, turn it off and grab a seat. Hands behind the back, heels a little bit wider than hip width. You're gonna rotate from the hips, opening up that top hip by squeezing your butt cheek, and rotate to the other side, opening up the hip, side to side. Again, you shouldn't feel any discomfort here in the knee. If you are, just shift your focus from, hey, I'm pushing my knee to the floor, to, hey, I'm actually rotating and opening my hip. And if my knee happens to reach to the floor because my hip has a lot of mobility, then that's awesome. If not, I'm just gonna allow my knee to get to wherever it can get to. One more coming up. Good, you're gonna lay onto your back. You're gonna place your left leg on the floor and your right leg up in the air. And we're gonna go into that hip bridge position. We're placing all of our weight here on our left leg. Our left leg is taking all of our weight. Thinking about keeping the pelvis tucked in, squeezing that left butt cheek. Okay, so now I want you to bring the right knee as high to your face as you can. It's obviously not going to get to your face, but that's what you're trying to do. So you're pushing your left heel into the ground, squeezing your left butt cheek, and the right knee is coming up to your head. So we've got forces happening in both legs for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back to the floor. And we'll switch sides, pushing up on the right hip and the right glute, engaging the right musculature, and now pulling the left knee to our forehead for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Back to the floor. Drop the hips down to the ground. You're gonna roll over onto your stomach. And from here, you're gonna place your forehead down towards the floor. You're gonna push your hands up overhead. And from here, while keeping the forehead, while keeping the chest, while keeping the pelvis on the ground, we're gonna be lifting just the arms. So it's gonna look like this for 20 repetitions. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Keep them up. Move the arms out to the side so you're in a T position. Thumbs up to the sky. Same protocol. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and relax. All right. So today, as I mentioned just prior to 11, we're gonna have an every minute on the minute drill. So again, what that means is we've got 60 seconds on the clock and you are given a specific task. Each task today has the same number of repetitions, and that is 16 reps. You will perform 16 repetitions, and however much time is remaining in that 60 seconds, you rest for. For example, you move really fast, you bank more rest time. You move slowly, you bank less rest time. We're gonna have only 2 exercises at the same time, and those movements are what we call competing exercises, meaning that there's a lot of overlap in the musculature and also in the tissue that is working. So this is supposed to fatigue that musculature more so than if we were pairing non-competing movements, okay? So our first 2 exercises are gonna be a forward lunge, 16 total, 8 per side. You rest for whatever time is remaining in that minute. And on the second minute, you're gonna perform a rapid squat. So what rapid squat means is that I want you not to just match or resist gravity coming up. I want you to push through gravity. If you've got an external load, please load it. Ready to rock and roll? Only 2 exercises. It's gonna be 4 sets. So 8 minutes total until we move on to the following exercises. All right. If you've got something to load, please load. If not, body weight. Starting with our alternating lunges in 3, 2, 1, and here we go. 16 total, 8 on the front, or I should say on the right leg, and 8 on the left leg. Always pressing in to the front heel to stand back up in order to engage more of the glute area and to take the pressure off of the knee joint to ensure that we transfer all of that weight into the backside of the body. So again, 16 and then rest. 1, 6. We've got about 20 seconds and then we're gonna go into those rapid squats. How rapid the squats are is dependent on what you want to bring to it. If you want to push so hard that you're leaving the floor, that's okay. We've got 5 seconds.
3, 2, 1, go.
Here we go. 16 rapid squats. Full range of motion, butt to the floor. Meeting this with a level of standing up that is greater than what our body actually needs. We're adding acceleration to this movement. 1, 6 is the end number. And then you rest. At the end of this minute, we go back to those alternating lunges. We've got 20 seconds remaining. 15 seconds. 10 seconds.
3, 2, 1, go.
Here we go. If you do find that the knee gets irritated, feel free to turn these into alternating reverse lunges. The biomechanics of the reverse lunge do make it a little bit easier on the knee joint. So that is definitely a modification that can be made if you find that these are irritating the knees. We're halfway through. So again, accumulating 8 per side, 16 total to reach the end of our goal here. Very nice, Yasmin. Good, Janine. 5 seconds.
3, 2, 1, go.
Here we go. Explosive squat. 7, 8, ensuring that we're still pushing the floor apart, regardless of whether it's a fast squat or a slow squat, always trying to get more out of the movement than the movement actually needs from us. 1, 6, 16 is the goal here. Always descending into your deepest squat position. Amanda, I like the bright outfit today. 20 seconds to catch your breath. Ooh, this is nice. Damien put everyone's faces up on the TV we have, so it's easier to see everyone now than the small computer screen. Very cool. Back to our lunges.
1, go.
And here we go. Taking that big step forward, forcing our knee to come up really high into that knee flexion. 1, 6 total, 8 per side. Nice big high step. Ensuring that you have enough distance between your front and your back leg to actually feel like that back leg can get down. If we don't step far enough forward, sometimes we feel congested and it's kind of hard to get down. So make sure you've got enough space. Moving on to the explosive squats in 10 seconds. If you want more of a strength or muscle endurance effect, here we go. Keep pressing apart as hard as you can. Slowly move it down slightly. If you want more of a cardiovascular or conditioning effect, then make them really explosive. So you can dial up or dial down your intent behind the movement and what you're trying to get out of it to match what your goal is. Val, nice depth on those squats. That's awesome. Manisha, I think you got a couple inches of depth remaining in you there. All right, that is 3 rounds completed. So we've got 1 more round. So we've got 1 more minute per movement remaining until we move on to other movements. 10 seconds, we'll go back to our lunge here.
3, 2, 1, go.
Here we go. Knee nice and high in between those reps, like you're a giant taking a giant step. Giant step. 16 total, 8 per leg. Again, always focusing on pressing that heel into the floor to stand up. So we stay a little bit heavier through the posterior chain or the back side of the body and take some of that weight off of the joint. We take some of the impact of that stepping motion off of the knee joint as well. So we've got 1 set of squats remaining here. And as you could imagine, there must be a trick, and there is. So for this final set, it's going to be 60 seconds of squatting for the entire duration. So if that means more than 16, it's going to be more than 16. 3 seconds.
1, go.
And here we go. Down and up, down and up for that full 60 seconds. So you will likely surpass 16 movements. That's okay. So pace yourself so you're able to keep going for the entire 60 seconds. Once the 60 seconds has finished, we will rest and transition for a minute as I walk you through what the other movements are. We'll switch focus off of the lower body and go to the upper body. So in this respect, the sets are non-competing because we're going to go lower, upper, lower, upper. So you're able to give for the next 8 minutes. We have 10 seconds, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4,
3, 2, 1, go.
and take a 60-second breather there as I walk you through what is coming up next. So we've got an overhead press. So again, you can use that with 2 separate implements, or a single implement like a case of water or a book. For 16 repetitions, you will rest for whatever is left of the minute, and then it will be a lateral raise for 16 repetitions. Definitely going to feel quite a bit of a burn in that shoulder area. We're going to get up and moving for this one in 20 seconds. I love seeing what everybody is using for load on these ones. Soup cans is always my favorite for the lateral raises, or potentially bottles of wine, right, Nicole? All right, 3 seconds. Pressing, trying to keep the biceps next to the ears as we press up. So we don't want to be too far forward, not super great for the shoulder. We want to try to come up next to the head. And then also ensuring that we're not overarching the lower back. Keep your butt tucked in, always thinking about that ugly butt, or squeezing the glutes as if you had come to the top of a deadlift. So 6 repetitions, 16, whatever is left for that minute. Take a load off the shoulders and the arms. And in 20 seconds, we're then going to start the lateral raises. In my opinion, the lateral raises catch up much quicker than the overhead presses do. If you do have a little bit of a lighter option, you may need to drop to that at some point with the lateral raises. Body weight might even start to feel a little bit heavy.
2, 1, go.
And here we go. 6. Making it a full body experience by grounding your feet into the floor, squeezing your quads, squeezing your butt cheeks. Even though it's an upper body exercise, you're getting as much out of it from the lower body as possible. That's how we maximize all of our benefits in strength training, is by making everything seem harder than it actually needs to be. We're at that halfway point now. Once you're finished your 16 reps, do take the weights off and just kind of hang out and allow the shoulders to rest. Because this is a smaller muscle group than what we were using previously, you might find that the burn really adds up and accumulates to a greater degree.
3, 2, 1, go.
And here we go, overhead press again. Keeping the butt nice and tight. Never arching through that lower back. Squeezing those glutes to get the weights up above the head, especially as you start to feel fatigued. Halfway, we've got 30 seconds remaining to allow those shoulders to feel a little less jiggly and jelly for those lateral raises. Getting into that nice athletic stance for these movements. So even though it's the upper body that we're using, we're bracing through the legs and through the core.
3, 2, 1,
Here we go. Always acting as if someone's about to run into you. So you tense and you tighten your whole body in preparation for them colliding. You want to keep that same tightness and tension through the entire duration of the movement, regardless of how big or how small that exercise is. Again, that's definitely how we can make an isolated exercise, a movement that's only targeting a particular muscle area, stimulate the entire body. 22 seconds. That's it, Yasmin. Nice job keeping that nice athletic stance. Very good. Take a load off the shoulders. We're gonna go back to our overhead press in 8 seconds.
3, 2, 1, go.
Keeping the elbows nice and tight to the side of the body. Safer for the shoulder if we stay close to the midline, but you lift less weight. If you're able to go out wide, shoulder mobility has to be a bit better to get there. 1, 6, 16 repetitions. And then we rest, getting ready for those lateral raises. We got 30 seconds remaining. So Yasmin, just keep thinking about pushing and pulling. Imagine that you're pulling elastic bands from the sky, so you add a lot of tightness and intent. 10 seconds remaining. Moving into those lateral raises next.
3, 2, 1, go.
And here we go. Pushing the floor apart, turning the butt on, turning the quads on, turning the hamstrings on, turning the abs on. When we lift the arms, we're not flaring our chest. We're keeping the rib cage tucked down, meaning that we're keeping the abs on and the abs tight. If you want an even stronger effect or burn here, you can not return all the way down, just return part way and go back up, especially if you're using body weight or very light load. This is a way to make it feel much more challenging. 16 with body weight should definitely give you a little bit of a burn there. 10 seconds remaining. Transitioning to our last set of that overhead press.
3, 2, 1, go.
16 repetitions, using the full body to push that weight up above the head, up above the head. Think about keeping the biceps next to the earlobes as we extend up overhead and never arching through the lower back. We can prevent that arch by really squeezing your butt cheeks, making ugly butt, and that will protect the state of the lower back.
Mark.
30 seconds. Going into our final minute of work, which means that we're going to work for the entire 60 seconds. So if you start with weights and you're like, man, I got nothing left, drop the weights, finish body weight, just not going all the way back to the bottom where you're resting. Just keep the arms up as such. 5 seconds.
3, 2, 1, go.
And here we go for the entire 60 seconds. Constant tension on the shoulders, on that muscle group. At the end of this set, we'll transition back to the lower body. So again, the upper body will have that moment to recover before we finish off with the final one, which will be back to upper body. So again, though our superset is competing, the structure of the supersets is non-competing. 20 seconds remaining. Again, drop the load if you need to and keep tension on the muscles. Keep going. Final 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
3, 2, 1, go.
And 60 seconds to rest. Allow the shoulders to take a little bit of a break there. Coming up next are 2 movements. Now we're going to target the back side of the body. So we've kind of already done the front. Now we're going to do the back. The first one is going to be our Romanian deadlift. So you're going to push the floor apart, sink the hips back, stretch, 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 stretch the back of the legs, snap back up, squeeze the butt. If you've got no weights, no problem. Just ensure that you're pushing the floor apart, engaging as much as you can that isometric. Did those body weight the other day and I'm still sore from them. So there's a lot of merit to that. And we're going to pair those with either a hip thrust or a glute bridge. So for example, if you've got something near you that you can elevate the shoulders like a couch or a coffee table, feel free to go into that elevated position. If not, this can also be completed from the floor in that hip bridge position as well. 16, 1, 6 is going to be the damage on both of those exercises once again. And we shall get started in 10 seconds. So again, that Romanian deadlift, always pressing the floor apart, making it harder than it needs to be, and also thinking about pulling the shoulder blades. Here we go, back and down. So don't allow those weights, if you have weights, to come in front of the torso. Squeeze the heck out of the upper back. Make it a back exercise as well. Get more out of this movement than what meets the eye. Pressing those heels away. If you really push the heels apart, you'll start to feel the outside of your butt or the glutes even harder. And again, 1-6 here is the prescription, 16 repetitions. Really trying to squeeze the glutes at the top. As always, keeping that nice neutral spine. Allow the weights to come down and drag across your pants, whether it be the front of your legs or the side of your legs, but let them always stay in contact with your pants. Quick transition is going to be to either the glute bridge or that hip thrust. Again, whatever you have accessible to you. 16 repetitions, keeping those hips up, 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 up. Squeezing your butt cheeks at the top. Think about pulling your heels towards your head while you squeeze your butt, and that will maximize the result that you get. Now, when you're finished your 16 reps, you're gonna elevate the hips and stay in that glute bridge position or that hip thrust position. Just hold it when you're done your 16 reps until about 5 seconds until the next round. So we're gonna get a little bit more out of that movement. Since we don't have heavy weights, we're gonna add some time under tension. We've got 15 seconds remaining. So at about 5 seconds, I'm gonna tell you to stand back up and get ready. Okay, onto your feet.
3, 2, 1, go.
And here we go, back into that Romanian deadlift. Again, just pushing the feet apart, pushing those heels apart especially, and that helps to engage the glute area, making it harder than it needs to be, really squeezing the butt cheeks at the top. The farther back you allow the hips to travel, the longer the lever becomes, meaning that the bigger the stretch and the bigger the result that we get. So really press those hips backwards behind you, and that's how you can make a relatively light load feel very heavy. 20 seconds remaining. Nice back on those, Janine. As always, pushing the feet apart, pushing the floor apart. 5 seconds.
3, 2, 1, go.
And 16 reps of that hip bridge. And then when we're finished our 16, we're gonna hold that extended position for a little bit more exposure to that part of the body. Again, as always, pretending we have hundreds of pounds on our hips. That's how hard that we're flexing the abs. That's how hard that we're squeezing the butt cheeks. That's how hard we're pushing the arms into the floor to get as much out of it as you can. Once those 16 are done, you're gonna hold that position, thinking about squeezing the butt cheeks, pulling the heels to the head to increase the amount of activation we have happening. You're gonna hold that isometric position for another second. Okay, back to your feet. And transition quickly into that Romanian deadlift. Hoping that the carryover from that isometric helps to keep the rest of the body feeling quite fatigued, transitioning back into that Romanian deadlift. Halfway. Christine, a little bit more careful with the lower back. So maybe cut your range of motion a tiny bit. Looks like you were digging into the lower back just a tiny bit there with the end range. And then you froze. Oh, now you're back. Getting onto our back next. First of all, you were in the scene the whole time. Was it? Yeah. Squeezing your butt. Down and up. Again, making this harder than it needs to be. Flexing those abs. Creating lots of tension. And then when you're done holding that static position, just trying to extract as much out of that movement as you can. You've got 30 seconds remaining. Flexing through the midsection, thinking about pulling your belly button up towards your rib cage. Tilting the pelvis so that your bum takes the weight, not your lower back. We're going to stand up in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
3, 2, 1, go.
Last set of our Romanian deadlift. Press the hips back and squeeze. Press the hips back and squeeze. Press those hips back. Really taking the angle of the hip to the position where you feel like there is a stretch in the backside, especially the back of the legs. Being very mindful of staying within our range of motion. That looks good, feels good. Christine, that was a lot better. And then our final set of hip bridges or hip thrusts is going to follow the same protocol, 16 reps and then the hold for the rest of the minute. So nothing new there. Andrea, nice job taking your time and really trying to extract as much out of that as you can.
1, go.
All right, transitioning into that glute bridge or that hip thrust, depending on what you've got available to you. 16 reps. Again, getting as much out of that movement as you can. If you find that you always keep your feet wide or narrow, you can play with a different stance. It'll all work the hips in a little bit of a different way, which moves towards that goal of ensuring that we're strong in a 360-degree range of motion. We got 30 seconds rest left. So once you've finished your 16, you're going to hold that position. And then we'll go into another minute of transitioning before starting the next round. So try to further not just meet, but surpass the load of gravity pressing down on you.
3, 2, 1, go.
All right, grab a quick sip. So we're going to transition next to core movements. The first one, if you did our Thursday protocol, is going to be the hip dip plank. You may still have some battle wounds from all of that. You're going to get down into your plank position. You're going to pivot from the toes, bringing a side of your hip towards the floor, side to side. 16 repetitions, so it'll be 8 dips per side. And then our final one here is going to be a side to side leg lower. So if you're able in any way to have something to hold your hands on for some stability behind your head, like a couch or a coffee table, that might be helpful. We did these last Saturday, so this might be a little bit familiar. Press the lower back into the floor, tap on one side, tap on the other side, controlling the speed down and controlling the speed up, trying not to use momentum. That will also be 8 dips per side. So we've got about 15 seconds before we get started. Getting ready. 2, 1, hip dip to start. So Ruma would look like this. If you've got like a couch or something and holding this position. Let me know how that works for you, and then I'll give you some more information there.
Three, two, one, go.
Leg lower neck, side to side, left to right. For the hip dip plank, your hips may or may not touch the floor. So especially when you first start that exercise where the body's a little bit more bound, I find that there's a bit of a lack of range of motion for that twisting motion. So you might actually not touch the floor. And I find that as the set goes on, we do start to warm up and open up a little bit so we can get a little bit further. But you don't necessarily need to touch the ground. Just move yourself in a position where you're still able to maintain good form. Great question.
Three, two, one, go.
So transitioning back to your hip dip plank. And again, if this is something that doesn't feel very good, what you can do is elevate the body to a different surface. So we're lessening that lever. If you've got a couch accessible, you can place the forearms on that couch position. And if you feel like you are okay doing that rotation from the toes here, do so. If not, you're gonna hold that plank position for 20 to 30 seconds, depending on how the body feels for that set. So we'll add motion if everything feels okay. If not, then we'll hold that stationary position. Transitioning to the leg lowers next. Pushing the lower back into the floor. So the range of motion here is going to be dependent on you. Everyone's going to be a little bit different, but we only go as low as having the lower back able to stay on the floor. And now, as mentioned in a previous session, is it going to be harder on one side of my body to keep my lower back down when I push my legs to the other side? Absolutely. You're exposing your body to this weird asymmetrical load, so it will feel different and it will be harder to keep one side on the ground versus the other side. Yay, nice job, Ruma. 5 seconds remaining. Good. And with these hip dip planks, again, rotating from the toes. So it's not that we're twisting through our lower back on these ones, it's that we're just pivoting side to side from our baby toe to our big toe. Baby toe, big toe, baby toe, big toe. Not a bad idea on these ones to keep the hips actually a bit excessively high. I don't mind that if in between the reps, the hips actually come up a little bit higher than usual. I sometimes find that allows me to actually feel a little bit more in the oblique area. 10 seconds before we transition back to those leg lowers. The leg lowers, again, are more about the control. So decelerating. Here we go. Decelerating that time. Staying in constant control as we go up and down and up and down. Trying not to let the legs rest on the floor. So we're keeping that constant tension on the abdominals for that full 16 repetitions. Again, value is pushing the back into the floor so we get that pelvic tilt that allows us to get these front part of the body, the side part and the back part working. 20 reps remaining. Oh, sorry, 20 seconds, not reps.
Three, two, one, go.
Here we go, back to pivoting on the toes. And again, depending on how wide you make the feet, it's going to feel a little bit different. So I find going wider, having a larger base of support is a little bit easier versus if I put my feet totally together and then I rotate, I do feel a bit of a bigger demand on the obliques or those musculature on the outside of my abs there. But again, as always, play around with it. Everyone's body is a little bit different, and what you feel is going to be a little bit different from everybody else. After we have completed 16 of the hip dips, we're going to conclude with 60 seconds here of the leg lowers. Once you have completed all 16 repetitions, we're going to be holding an extended position without moving until the time has completed. So here we go side to side, stay really rigid through the midsection, pushing the lower back down, decelerating as we get down towards the floor so we don't actually drop to the ground, trying to use not as much momentum. And then as we finish our 16 reps, we're going to extend our legs and hold. Feel free to bend the knees if you need to keep tension on the midsection for the remainder of the time. We've got about 20 seconds left. And then we'll take another 60-second transition before moving on to our final superset for the day. 5,
3, 2, 1, go.
And relax. Grab a sip. So we're going to transition back to the upper body area. The first movement here is going to be a bent over reverse fly, but we're going to be keeping the elbows at 90 degrees. So kind of like the other day where we got into external rotation, you're basically going to hold external rotation as you do your fly. So again, if you've got some lighter weights, you won't really be able to tolerate a heavy load here. Opening and closing, opening and closing, opening and closing. And we're going to pair that with either a plank jack or a push-up jack or a push-up. We've got some options here. Plank jack is going to be very similar to a jumping jack, but you're laying on the ground, so maybe not so similar. So you can perform your push-up, legs go out, legs go in, push-up, push-up, okay? Another option here would be to not do the push-up and just the legs, either from the hands or the forearms. And then the final option would be to perform 16 push-ups. So somewhere along that continuum, there's some autonomy to choose what movement you want to work on between one of those 4 variations. So we're going to get started in 12 seconds with the bent over reverse flies, keeping the elbows 90 degrees and really squeezing the upper back muscles. And here we go, 16 reps, 1, 2, always trying to push the shoulders to that end range. So elbows back, squeeze, elbows back, squeeze, really focusing on those muscles up here. Pulling exercises or back exercises, posterior chain exercises are hard to do with not as much equipment around. So that's why we have to really think about using lighter weight, putting our body in different positions, and then engaging it through that mind connection. So really saying, okay, I want to squeeze this harder than it needs to be. So I'm acting as if I'm lifting a lot of weight, and you will still get a great benefit from that. 10 seconds before transitioning into that plank jack or whatever variation you're using.
1, go.
Push up. You can also elevate these. That's probably really annoying on my mic. Sorry. Just realized it's like hitting the bench every time I go. Nice, Christine. Great work, Val. Manisha, good. Yasmin, good. Yasmin, I'm going to say unhook the legs. Yeah. And then you can think there about like flexing your butt and also your hamstrings. Whereas if we're crossed, we kind of lose that ability. But when you're here, you can think about pulling the heels towards your butt, and then you end up getting a ton of work through here as well. So we're just getting a little bit more out of that movement and keeping the hips in that symmetrical position. Okay, 5 seconds, and we're back to the bent over 90 degree raise here. Leading through the elbows, and then when you get up as high as you can, squeeze your shoulder blades together. Like you're trying to pinch your shoulder blades, pinch your shoulder blades. Even with no weight, just by performing that pinch, you should really start to feel that tissue in the back be like, whoo, yeah, awake, whoo, yeah, awake. That tissue that helps to give us nice posture, allows us to walk around and look like we are more confident than we actually are. Good. Nice, Yasmin. And as always, really nice back posture. So Rocky, on the next set, see if you can come down a little bit lower. You've got a bit of a big extension there. So just tuck the pelvis in, bring the chest down a little bit, and that will take some of the pressure off that lower back area as well. A little lower with the chest. Yeah, good. Very good. And push up or push up jack coming up next. Again, whatever variation of that movement works best for you. So it could be a straight push up for 16 repetitions. It could be a plank jack, legs go out, legs go in for 16 reps. It could be a combination of the two. Great work. Yasmin, awesome. Nice, Laura. Very good. Seven seconds. $90 reverse fly. Christine, I sometimes wonder if you have like a little jungle there. I always see new animals that I have never seen before. Sit, Rocky. Nicole, nice position. We'll try to keep the wrists and the elbows in line. I know easier said than done, but try not to let the elbows come higher than the wrists. It all moves up and down as one unit. Very good, Rocky. Transitioning back to that either push-up jack, push-up, or plank jack.
3, 2, 1, go.
So for a little bit more core, a little bit more of a metabolic effect, the push-up and the push-up jack would be a good combo, or the plank jack for a bit more of a strength or an endurance effect, then definitely going with the push-up would be a great option there too. Christine, great variation. She's doing her push-ups on the knee and then very quickly sprawling to the toes to complete the jack portion. Definitely gonna increase the heart rate because of how quickly you're transitioning between those two. That's awesome. 20 seconds. Again, 16 reps, 1-6. Sit, Amanda. 90-degree Bent over reverse fly coming up next.
2, 1, go.
Keeping the wrists and the elbows locked in at the same height and allowing all of that movement to come from the shoulder only, the shoulder and the shoulder blade area. By keeping the wrist the same height as the elbow, it makes a lightweight actually feel quite heavy. This is our last set of this particular movement. We got 20 seconds on the clock. Yasmin, see if you can flatten out the back a tiny bit. So we got a little bit of a hunch there. So push your butt out. Bring your chest a little higher. Yeah, now bring your chest up a bit. Right there. Beautiful. And so if you start to feel like there's a little bit more work around here, that's just those muscles working. All right, our final set here of the plank jack or the push-up. So you've got an option. When you're finished your 16 repetitions, you're either gonna hold a plank position or you're gonna hold a bottom push-up position, either or. But we're gonna ensure that we keep work on the muscles for that full duration. So again, those 16 reps will come first, and then whatever time is left on the clock, either holding that plank position or holding a bottom position of the push-up. For a bit more core effect, you'll hold the plank. For a little bit more of that muscular endurance of the upper body, you will hold the push-up. If you want to elevate your push-up or drop to the knees to hold that position, that is totally fine.
3, 2, 1, done.
And relax. Take a moment there to grab a sip of water. We'll slowly come back to our standing position in a moment, and then we will cool down and stretch it out. Nice work, Andrea. All right, so we're gonna start with the neck and we'll move our way down. If you have a chair, you can sit on a chair. If not, you can sit on the floor. You're gonna place your right hand under your butt. You're gonna sit on your hand. And you're gonna lean, so if I've got my right hand under my right butt cheek, I'm gonna lean my head to the left, but keep my butt pressed onto my hand. So I've got this opposite pull happening as my head's coming down to the left, my arms being anchored on the right. So I'm creating some length between my head and my shoulder, getting length through my neck. Try to get that shoulder really low away from the earlobe as much as you can. And you can slightly rotate the neck, coming forward, getting different angles of the position. You can take your chin and allow your chin to rotate to meet the left shoulder. Whatever it is that allows you to feel a stretch in different areas. And then we shall switch. So now my my left hand is gonna go under my butt cheek. And I'm gonna tilt my my head towards my right. And I'm gonna pull my left shoulder towards the floor. And I'm gonna explore different angles by bringing my chin forward, by bringing my chin towards the right part of my shoulder, by keeping my jaw closed, clenching my jaw for a moment, not too hard, and then letting it go and clenching it. Those muscles we use for chewing and talking definitely get a lot of work. So you'll find that as you manipulate the jaw position, that you can actually feel a really big stretch sometimes in the neck as well. If you look up slightly towards the sky, and then you close your jaw, open your jaw, close your jaw, open your jaw, you'll feel quite a bit of a pull along that neck as well. You can gently use the other hand to kind of push it down like Manisha's doing. Nothing too aggressive. And turn it off. Good. Take your right hand, pull it across the chest. Use your left arm to pull it towards you. Now, what I want you to think about here, and if your hips are getting tired, you can go into a butterfly position if you need to. You can think about pulling through the shoulder so we get some of the upper back to stretch, as opposed to if I stayed really upright and didn't move my upper back, I would get more shoulder, but I'm actually gonna give into that pull a little bit so that the muscles that we use, especially with that bent over 90-degree reverse fly and also the deadlift, by keeping my upper back sturdy and straight, trying to get into that stuff back there. And then we'll switch to the other side. So again, I'm kind of leaning into that pull a little bit so that I allow my working arm here to really pull through that upper back and shoulder girdle area. If you find that spot, just, yeah, sink into that spot. I'm gonna turn that off. I'll flip over onto our front. I'm gonna give the floor a big hug, and you're going to take your right hand off the ground and just place it with your palm facing to the floor, almost like you can push yourself up slightly. So you're gonna use that right hand now to pull yourself or push yourself over. So you're gonna rotate that top leg as well. As you lean to the backside, you can place your arm in different positions to get different stretches, stretching through the shoulder and the bicep, but also stretching through that hip area in that top position. Christine, squeeze your butt cheek for the top leg and push your hip forward like you did a deadlift. So you get a stretch through the front part of the hip there. Good, go back to hugging the floor, earth hug. And then you'll place your left hand flat on the ground, and that left hand is gonna press your body over to the side. I have way more range of motion on this arm than I do the other side. Wow, huge difference. Allowing that top leg to also kind of transition over like you're a baby and you're rolling over, but you would crush your arm if you continued. So getting a stretch through the shoulder, the bicep, the chest, but also the hip area of that top leg. Oh, hi, Rose. You can manipulate that leg, the position, anywhere where it feels like you're deepening that stretch. Back to the floor, hands under the chest, pressing the torso up, and imagining that you're dragging your hip forward, dragging your torso forward like you're a zombie. Big breath in, turn it off. Press your bum towards your heels. Up to quadruped, or that all four position. Going into severe spinal flexion. Big breath in, arch that back. Create as much space between the shoulder blades as you can. Breathe into it. Fill the upper back with air. Exhale, drop your chest. Going into the opposite position. Taking your knees off the ground and pushing your toes into the floor, sticking your butt up into the air. Marching left to right. Walking your hands all the way back to your feet. And then marching again left to right. And slowly coming back up to standing when you feel ready. Excellent work, everybody. Nice to see you all out here on a sunny Saturday. And we hope that you get some safe outdoor time and no one gets a ticket and you have some fun. Next week, our schedule will be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 5 p.m. and then Tuesday, Thursday, 9 a.m. So we're switching again to give anyone who prefers evening a little bit more exposure next week compared to that morning time.
I have a question.
As always, we'll have
you.
our Saturday at 11. And miss you guys. Have a great week. And because we'll see you hopefully on Monday.